Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn Francis from the Patient-Centered Primary Care Collaborative. I'm so happy that you're able to join us today for the Strengthening Patient and Family Engagement Through Parent-to-Parent Peer Support. I just wanted to let you know before we begin, and also if you're having any problem hearing me or seeing seeing the slides, you can write in the chat box and we can try and see if we can help you. But before we begin, we just wanted everybody to know that we will send you the recording, and please participate in the conversation using the chat box on the right. You can type in, just put in your name and where you're, the organization and your question or your comments. You can submit your questions at any time, and at the end, if there's still time, we will do a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. And also, please complete the post-webinar survey at the end. So I just wanted to start off by giving, I know most of you probably know about PCPCC, but just wanted to do a little overview about that, and then also the Transforming Clinical Practice initiative, of which Parent-to-Parent is a part of, as well as the Patient-Family Engagement. The Patient-Centered Primary Care Collaborative, or PCPCC, we're here, and our main mission is to promote collaborative approaches to primary care improvement, which includes patient-centered care, patient-family engagement, patient activation, and improved cost and quality of experiences. As part of the Transforming Clinical Practice initiative, PCPCC is a support and alignment network, also called a SAN, which is a collaborative approach for improving patient, family, clinician, and community strategies for engagement. Our main message, the PCPCC main message, is that family engagement is a core element of effective and efficient clinical care. The value that we can bring is that we support the practice, the practice transformation networks and clinicians to help develop the capability for really actively engaging with persons, families, and communities to reach quality goals and also to reduce costs. The opportunity is that as a SAN, we collaborate with PTNs and provide assets for accelerating the initiatives, especially targeting cost and quality improvement. But it's just not another thing to do. This is something that really, the patient-family engagement is just very important for really moving healthcare to a higher quality, and also for people to really achieve the healthcare goals that they are looking for. Now, the aims of the TCPI, or the Transforming Clinical Practice Initiative, there's 7 of them. And mainly, as you can see, it's to support clinicians, improve health outcomes, reduce unnecessary hospitalizations, generate savings, sustain efficient quality care by reducing the number of unnecessary testing and procedures, and then also preparing practices for these alternative payment models that CMS and other payers are developing. And the other thing is we really want to develop an evidence base for practice transformation so that we can really advance and sustain the key changes that are being made through this program. Now today, our 2 speakers, one from the Institute for Patient and Family-Centered Care, Mary Minetti, will be talking about the patient-family engagement work that she does and how it combines with Janice Fitzgerald, who's the interim director of Parent-to-Parent, and how the 2 really integrate for really improving care and engagement for parents and families with children of special needs. So at this point, I will turn this over to Mary Minetti, and she will launch into the presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. And again, please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions or comments during the presentation. So Mary?
Okay. So thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today. And our objectives are really to help you understand the many resources that are available to support parents' engagement with their practices, and to draw the connection between peer support and person and family engagement, and how that can help you, whether you're a transforming clinical practice initiative or a primary care program that isn't part of this program but really cares about clinical outcomes and improving the connection between patients and families. Okay, so I'm going to set the stage for you. Marilyn's done a nice job of welcoming you to the day, and most of the time will be spent listening to and learning from Janice, who's with Parent to Parent USA. They are an amazing national resource and have been doing this work. It's credible, it's strong, and it's really made a difference in the lives of parents and their children. Okay. So it's all about partnership, and how do we create partnership with patients and families so that together we can improve their individual outcomes and we can create systems of care that really are about transforming the care so that we can really reduce costs and improve quality. Okay, so let's start by making sure that everyone kind of has a level playing field in terms of definitions. Engagement can mean different things to different people, but in 2013, at a national level, Health Affairs, through an article, really began to define a common understanding of what engagement meant. And as you can see, they're really talking about the active partnership between individuals, families, and healthcare clinicians and leaders to improve the health of individuals and communities together. Now, they really, at that time, really said, if we're going to improve care and really transform it, we can't do that in the absence of the involvement of patients and families, both in their direct care, but in helping us together in redesigning care so that best meets the needs of the population served. Okay. So as we think about engagement, it really is a continuum. So wherever you're at in terms of the systems you have in place to support patients and families and to create those important partnerships with them is important to know. There's many factors that influence engagement, but in the direct care arena, which we're really focused on today, true north really is the far right-hand side of this slide, that we really want to create shared leadership and partnership in direct care with patients so that we're truly co-creating plans. Now that may not be where you're at with 100% of your patient population, and it may be that you're really working now in terms of, as you give information to patients, that you're ensuring that that information is useful and affirming and that they can understand it so they can act on it. But as you move along the continuum, we really want to involve them by asking questions about what they really value, what their beliefs are, what they hope the outcomes are, what they see as their ability to influence their health outcomes. So all of these things are important to keep in context, because there are many, many strategies to engage patients and families, and we're going to focus on one today. But if you kind of understand the environment that you're in as practitioners, but also the environment and the influences that impact the engagement of patients and families, and where True North really is, it can really help us. Okay. So in the TCPI program, we are tracking performance metrics that relate to person and family engagement, and they cover three kind of arenas: governance, point of care, policies, and procedures. And we're not going to go into a lot of detail about this, but I just want to bring to your attention that at point of care, when we can engage patients and families so that they're true partners in shared decision making, if we can increase their activation in terms of their confidence, their skills, their knowledge, if we can address health literacy issues so that they're better able to navigate the healthcare system and create some confidence around that, and that we can collaborate on their medication management, because most patients do their medication management outside of the office environment. All of those key components related to the performance metrics can be impacted positively by peer-to-peer support. Okay, so let's talk for a minute about peer support. It enhances person and family engagement because it connects people with others who have a lived experience and who are a little farther along in their journey and can share from their lived experience what's worked with them in terms of navigating the health system, what role they've taken as active members of their care team or their child's care team. And all of these things can open the possibility for somebody who is working with a child or even their own new diagnosis can increase their knowledge, skills, and abilities and sense of, I can do this. I've met with and I've connected with somebody who's able to do this. I'm not exactly like them, but we have a lot in common, and therefore it can really make a difference. Okay. So as we think about that, think about it from the practice perspective. There are many things that practices do very well, and that medical expertise and that knowledge of the system is really important. But when we connect people with their peers who can answer questions and provide support around the emotional aspect of dealing with a chronic condition and the life-changing aspect of it, and those things that are outside of medical decision-making, it can really save a practice time. It also can really provide people with practical experience around how they're going to self-manage, because the reality is that unless the practice docs or other providers have that lived experience, they don't necessarily have the expertise around how to self-manage that particular challenge or health challenge, and peers do. They have on-the-ground, real-life experience. What we know from the evidence that's been accumulated over many years is that peer support helps increase adherence to treatment plans, it improves patient outcomes, and it also increases the ability of families to connect with other community resources that are important as part of the web, the environmental web that can support them in managing chronic conditions. Okay. So let's be clear about peer support. Many of us think of peer pressure. If we've ever been a teenager or lived with a teenager, we know that what peer pressure is. It can lead our kids to do things that they would not normally do because they're influenced by their peers. And sometimes that can be very positive. Peer support has the same impact, but in a positive and activating way. So a peer is two or more people who have a lived experience with similar health problems or challenges. And a peer supporter, that connection peer to peer, the peer supporter, the mentor, is a person who has personal experience with a health condition, but the important thing is they've been trained and in some way are supervised to support others who are experiencing a similar condition. So when we think about peer-to-peer support, we're talking about really a formalized system so that the peer supporter is trained and supported to provide really effective connections to an individual for the purpose of sharing information, enhancing emotional support, providing guidance on what works for them, and also connecting them with community resources. Okay. So oftentimes when someone is faced with dealing with a new health challenge, for, in this case, a family member, but also if it was a new health challenge for them, peer mentoring really helps people understand what it's like to live with a particular condition and what to expect. Often, they share information about other programs that they've accessed, what they've made, how the decisions they've made have been meaningful and relevant to their quality of life. One of the things that happens oftentimes is people feel when they're faced with new conditions, new health challenges, new things that they have to deal with, they feel some emotional distress, and they feel overwhelmed, and they feel somewhat isolated. What's happening for me? And when we connect them with other people who have a shared experience, there's a reduction in that sense of isolation. There's a validation of their feelings. They have somebody that will take some time to talk with them about how they're feeling and to really listen. So these are all really important things to do. It also really helps build new skills and helps them make behavior changes. Often when managing health conditions or challenges, it requires that we do things differently than what we've done before. And therefore, being able to see somebody who's had a past where they can discuss about those challenges related to changes and how they've dealt with them and how they make changes over time and what's been successful can really help individuals adopt positive behaviors. So that's really, really important. Okay, so as we think about that, it is really important to understand that there is a difference in the role between the professional in the healthcare setting who has knowledge and education and training, and they can support someone with counseling and problem solving and some skill development training around condition-specific things, and that's really important. But a peer supporter whose role is different, it's not to take the place of the medical provider, it's a complementary engagement opportunity, can help people understand from personal experience what it really means. And the reality is that medical professionals, healthcare professionals, don't have a lot of time, and they have to be judicious in how they use it in a busy office practice. And so often they don't have sufficient time to meet all the informational, emotional, and support needs of patients and families. Yes, we want professionals to truly connect with patients and engage them. And sometimes that connection is in understanding how community resources such as peer support can really make a difference. Okay, so let's think about what the role of integrating peer support into a practice is. Because it's not just knowing what the national resources are and connecting with them, but really understanding what the practice's role is. So how can a practitioner bring a valuable and unique resource such as parent-to-parent into your patients, into your parents? Well, you have to make sure that you understand the potential benefits of peer support so that you can share them with your patients or your parents. You have to be willing to utilize peer support and integrate it into your regular patient assessments. So that might mean that you develop a few questions to use in exploring peer support with patients, such as some patients find it helpful to talk to someone who has the same condition, or parents who have the same child with the same condition as their child does. Is that something that would interest you? It makes that link, it's creating that bridge that can really make a difference. And Jan is going to talk in great detail about parent-to-parent and all the different chapters and how they really make those connections in your local community. But it is really important to be aware of those national resources. So thank you for being here to listen to that, to Jan's sharing of what Parent-to-Parent USA can offer your practice. The one thing I want to make a point about before we shift to Jan is that sometimes practitioners make the assumption that if someone is highly educated or they've been very functional parents and or patients or family members, that they wouldn't benefit from peer support. And what I would share with you is that regardless of how highly educated you are, that people do have a need not just for information, but for emotional support as they're dealing with a new health issue, or there's a change in a health condition that they haven't experienced before. So I have used peer support in the past related to a health condition, and I had some very specific needs for information. I thought I understood the knowledge about what I needed to do, but I didn't know how others had done it, and being able to connect with individuals who were peers and could share their lived experience really reduced my anxiety and helped build my confidence. And so, and I have many years of education beyond college, yet faced with a new health condition, my primary care doc and my specialists were very helpful to me, but they helped support me in ways that made sense for the professional role that they had. But I needed more, and peer support provided that to me. Okay. We're focused today on getting peer support to parents of children with special needs. But I want to let you know that if you're beginning to think about, wow, peer support has a broader reach, and what might be some resources that are out there for my patients who have chronic conditions or other conditions, I would encourage you to take a look at these two websites for selected resources. I also wanted to let you know that we are going to have the Institute for Patient and Family-Centered Care that I work for is going to have an informal hosted conversation next Thursday, the 27th at 1:30 p.m. for people who are interested in peer support, both individuals and clinicians, to have just an informal conversation about peer support more broadly. And Marilyn will be sending out information to you about that if that's something that you're interested in learning more about. But I want to go ahead and turn it over to Jen. I think you are very lucky to have her spending time with you talking about Parent to Parent USA. We've worked with them over the years, and they are a leader in the field of peer support, obviously focused on supporting the parent, but they are a national gem. Jan?
Thank you. My work in the field of developmental disabilities began in 1985, and I've been involved in parent-to-parent programs for almost 20 years. I'm going to talk today about the emotional process and how families reach the point of accepting the situation that they're in, and also about how our parent-to-parent programs work. Next. My perception of the world shifted when my son John was 9 months old. A diagnosis of infantile spasms and developmental and intellectual disabilities changed my focus. John was treated with injections of ACTH and has been seizure-free since the initial treatment. Okay. What did it feel like when I was the recipient of the news that my child was ill and would likely have lifelong disabilities? I remember exactly where I was. I was seated across the table from my son's neurologist in a hospital meeting room. I remember he told me that John had a rare seizure disorder called infantile spasms, and that this type of disorder often indicated mental retardation. I remember being told that each case is unique, and at that point, there was no prediction of how it would play out for John. Until that moment, I thought John's illness would be treated and that I would be going home with a cured and healthy baby. Our reactions to perceived adverse events are diverse and are always followed by an array of emotions. When I first received John's diagnosis, I was angry because I was under the impression that John was going to be okay. My interpretation of okay was that he was going to be seizure-free without disabilities. The doctor's initial okay was that John would survive. I could not absorb all of the information given to me, and I had not grasped the severity of John's illness. Today, that's a good reminder that we can only absorb a limited amount of emotionally charged information at a time. Informing a parent that their child is ill or has a developmental disability is difficult. Some who break the news are gentler with their delivery than others. But this doesn't mean that anyone takes the task lightly or that they don't care. But if you ask any parent how and where they were when they were told of their child's disability or health needs, you will be surprised and in some cases alarmed at how painful of an experience it was. Next. So when a parent learns their child has emotional challenges, there's the initial reactions: shock, fear, denial, and anxiety were all part of my initial reactions to learning of my son's illness. Parents can be in a difficult situation, and emotions have to be recognized and addressed. For me, one of the fears was I was on a maternity leave, an extended maternity leave, and I was scheduled to go back to work, and immediately realized that our financial situation was really going to become more devastated than it had been after being off for almost a year. So this is the case for parents of individuals with disabilities, but it's true for almost any patient you see who receives a very challenging diagnosis. Next. The perceptions of disability are really across the board. It's viewed with fear, discomfort, and loss. As adults, disability can often mean the loss of independence. And there's an abundance of stereotypes about people with intellectual disabilities. And we're a society that emphasizes what and how much a person can produce. Next. There's a medical model. You know, a person with a disability is sick or disabled, but there often comes that message that they're excused from the typical obligations that others are involved in. And that can include participating in family duties and responsibilities, taking on some of the chores. There's the rehab model that a disability is a deficiency that needs to be fixed by a professional. Okay? So how do we reconcile with the emotions we've received and our own reality? Our own perception of disability or chronic health care need has only been formed and based on what we've learned and seen in our own life, or in the media, or in schools, and in medicine. And reality tells us there are varying attitudes about illness and disability. You know, my child needed a parent's love and that of an entire community, but when we have a child with disabilities and when we get that initial diagnosis, we tend to turn inward and isolate ourselves when what we really need to do is the reverse. Okay? Our perceptions of disability include a focus on the glass half empty. The words that we hear or a person with a disability hears is that they suffer. We often hear how courageous the parents are. We hear that people are a victim of something. They often don't work, or they're perceived as not working. They can be criminalized or victimized. And, you know, as a parent, when my child was younger, we witnessed them being laughed at and teased. Okay. This slide, which I know you're going to be getting copies of, includes a link to a module that encourages learners to explore their own attitudes and beliefs about people with disabilities. You may find it personally valuable, or you may find it to be a good training tool in your workplace. Okay? How does a parent reconcile with the reality? The 4 stages of adaptation model was developed by Dr. Nancy Miller. She was a psychotherapist and social worker who worked with parents of individuals with disabilities. That first adaptation is surviving. When we first experience disability in our family, we're surviving. Being a state of surviving doesn't last forever, but it sure feels like it when we're going through it. It's what a person does to keep going when they are feeling completely overwhelmed because something out of their control has taken over their life. They have something new and frightening to handle, and they have to begin adapting to an uncertain future. When parents become aware of their child's problem, they begin to deal with this information in 2 ways, by coping and by reacting. Coping is what we do. We have to do one thing at a time just to get by. It feels like your head is always just above water and you're barely keeping afloat. And that consumes a lot of our energy just to deal with our reactions to the current situation. Reacting drains our energy and diminishes our feelings of control over our lives. We feel as if there's no sense of direction. There are many aspects of this unexpected experience. And when our energy is drained, it's a challenge to listen and make sound decisions. Included in the handout for this is one on emotions experienced, and it may be a tool that will help you when you're meeting with parents after an initial diagnosis. Next. We search for information, we search for cures, we search for causes and answers. Gathering information and learning and understanding an illness or disability is what a parent does. And it's a process that helps us in absorbing information and to gradually address the emotional impact of the diagnosis. Outer searching provides parents with knowledge and understanding. It brings about new perspectives about disabilities. We build strength and empowerment through a sense of competence and control. Inner searching involves asking life questions. The questions are about being strong enough to parent a child with special needs, to hold the rest of the family, and likely a job altogether. And the answers will evolve over time, but in the meantime, parents will feel anxious, depressed, and incompetent. And the inner search is a journey of self-discovery that begins with the realization that life is going to be different than parents had planned. Okay? As a parent settles into their new normal, there's a shift in balance. Parents establish new priorities for their lives and their child lives, and they're better able to select what is important. Daily life can become more predictable. They have more information than when they first learned their child had special needs, and they know who to ask and when they have questions. Parents are more assertive and knowledgeable, and the professionals they work with recognize that. Some obstacles to settling in include not having needs met, and that can include continued medical crisis, aggressive or self-destructive behaviors, or the physical or mental health of any family member. These can all halt the settling in process. Next. The final stage of adaptation is separating. I remember so well when my son was young, I just always felt that our identity was one, and it was really, really hard to figure out how to sort that out. But separating is a normal and necessary and gradual process in child development, but it does take on a different progression and timeline when disabilities are involved. And for children with special needs, separation also often has to be intentional, where it's a natural progression for our other children. For parents, separating and letting go means getting tough on certain issues, giving up some control, including others to share in the caregiving and teaching, admitting that a parent can't make their child's disability go away, and accepting what a child can or cannot do is an important step in letting go. Thank you. Next one. I learned about parent-to-parent in the early 1990s. I knew that if I felt as isolated as I did, there had to be other parents. What I didn't know is how the connection to them can be life-changing. Parent-to-parent had its beginnings in the 70s when some parents in the Midwest, originally in Nebraska, initiated pilot programs. Parent-to-Parent USA was formed in 2006. We recognized the importance of having a connection, an umbrella, so to speak, of the organizations, a place where we could, share information and help support the organizations. Currently, we have 34 Alliance members and 5 community partners. Alliance members are established organizations that run statewide programs. Community partner organizations operate locally or they're disability-specific parent-to-parent programs. Next. Parent-to-parent organizations employ parents who have experience parenting a child with special needs as program coordinators. And it's important to recognize in this type of peer support, it's the parents that are the primary focus, not the person with the disability. Okay? The parent matching program or component is what makes parent-to-parent peer support unique. But families and professionals also contact parent-to-parent organizations for assistance in locating resources and with problem solving. Okay. Parents who are interested in being matched with a support parent often self-refer to a program, or they can request that someone else make the referral on their behalf. Referrals and matches are never made without the expressed interest and permission of the parent seeking the support. Anonymous referrals are never accepted. We often see parents that we know who can benefit from talking to another parent, but they have to be the person ready to make that first step. Generally, the person who receives the referrals to the parent-to-parent program is a parent themselves, and parents often find it very comforting to immediately be connected to another parent. The referral coordinator, in order to ensure a successful parent match, will gather information from the referred parent. And the referred coordinator will then check their roster of trained and available support parents to identify a support parent who seems to be the right fit. And if the support parent then agrees to be the match, then contact information is shared with each of the parents involved. And follow-up activities help to ensure the success of the match. An initial call to both parents lets the coordinator know that the match has been made and to know if additional support and resources are needed. And when needed, quite often the parent matches are really unique, and a local parent office may not have a support parent in their database. But that's the beauty of having our statewide and national network, because we have a system that they can contact the other states to see if they have an appropriate support parent that might be willing to be the parent for a new parent. Next. Listening is the core of the work for a parent-to-parent coordinator and also for the volunteer support parent. Sharing feelings can make any of us feel vulnerable, and sharing them with someone who has walked a similar walk helps the parent begin to move through that emotional journey. And when we speak with a new parent, we let them know that it's okay to feel the way they do, that other parents have experienced similar feelings, and that their feelings are part of a logical process. Next. Our coordinators are, as we said, are parents of individuals with disabilities, but they have to be very well adjusted to their situation first before they would be hired to be a parent-to-parent coordinator. And in addition to that experience, the skills and qualities that are important to being a regional coordinator and to do this work include knowing how to network. They have to be able to make connections, and they have to be able to put themselves out there and ask questions. Our parent-to-parent coordinators become a wealth of information because of their willingness and ability to network. They also have to be objective and meet parents where they're at. And a primary role that they have is they have to be able to listen very well. Next. Through their work, coordinators help a parent create a vision for their future. Their work is about helping the parent create their parent-centered care plan, not a child-centered care plan. And people often ask how our children are, but parent-to-parent coordinators learn to focus on asking, how are you, the parent? They listen and help the parent sort out their questions and assist in guiding a parent to access needed support. Next. The roles and responsibilities of the support parent. There are two people involved in this support relationship. There is the matched parent, the person requesting the match, and the support parent. The matched parent is the parent who has reached out for help for any number of reasons. Most often, they need to talk. The support parent provides support and reassurance, and it's about the comfort that comes from their shared experience. I haven't put in a lot of detail about it, but we have a very extensive support parent training where there are skills and rules of the road that are for the support parents to be oriented to. The match parent is encouraged to lead the conversation, and this is something they probably haven't had a chance to do in a long time. And supporting parents do not provide all the answers, but they do provide insight into the issues the other parents may be facing, and they validate the parent's feelings. Next. Information and referral. The questions and requests that parent-to-parent coordinators encounter are endless. At every turn, new parents have, there's new situations and new questions arise. And parent-to-parent coordinators can speak from the parent perspective and have a frame of reference for what another parent is experiencing. Successful employees have developed a knowledge base and a local network of references and can tap into those to assist families. Next. Just one quick note about the organizational management. Quite often, parent-to-parent programs are standalone organizations, but they are also programs within other not-for-profit organizations. And some are supported and sustained by contracts and their state's commitment. Financial support carries a message of value and helps to alleviate the burden of investing significant energy into fundraising. There's no cost for any parent to reach out to talk to a parent-to-parent office, and there's no fee for the parent matching program. Next. Keeping families engaged is really important because they can also be our next resource for a call coming in. They can be our best advertising. And many programs keep families engaged by providing opportunities for learning and ongoing dialogue. Professionals learn the language and terminology used in their work, but parents often have to learn the language, terms, and acronyms of multiple service systems and education systems. They also have to learn how to navigate all of those systems in order to help their son or daughter. So the more informed a parent is about how to navigate these service systems, the more likely they are to make better informed decisions. Next. So parent-to-parent, we want the best for our children, but how do we also keep a focus on keeping ourselves, the parents, at our best? Family support is crucial. And the key, this is key focus for our parent-to-parent programs. We are here to help parents focus on keeping themselves at their best. And that concludes my part of this. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Mary and Janice gave us a lot of very good information and very usable for patient and family engagement. And I just wanted to go through this, just some of the resources for supporting your patient and family engagement efforts. As I had mentioned, the PCPCC is a SAN. Some of the things that we do in order to promote and advance some of these tools and learning about parent-to-parent and patient-family engagement. We do in-person and virtual learning events. We have scholarships at conferences. We do coaching sessions. We also include, along with patient-family engagement, the Choosing Wisely resources, which are really directed at patients learning about shared decision-making and talking with their clinician about what it is, what types of tests they may need or may not need. We also provide the expert faculty, like I said, for these in-person and virtual learning sessions, as well as online tools and resources. And also another very good resource for you is the PFCC Connect, which, as it says here, it's a virtual community for patient partners. And it's a good way of exchanging information and getting information and seeing really excellent performance stories and how people reach that. And so I would definitely encourage you to visit our website to look for the tools and resources, and you have the address here. But I won't go through this every word, but like I said before, some of the things that we offer is those training sessions, the coaching, access to our resource library, and then also learning networks as well. And these are some of our partners, the Institute for Patient and Family-Centered Care, which Mary Minetti is with, and Parent to Parent that Jan is with, and the YMCA, and they have a lot of very interesting community-based health programs for like diabetes, asthma, conditions like that. And then also Choosing Wisely, which is, as I previously described, it's a patient-oriented program to help them to get into that shared decision-making with their clinician or their healthcare team. And also, you can go on our website, like I said, if you go to patient engagement, you will see our tools. We also post webinars that we've held, and also other learning sessions and slide decks. And we try to divide them, separate them into what patients and caregivers are looking for, clinicians, and then also the administrators and the QI team. So, and as I had mentioned before, the PFCC Connect, it's an online learning community and dedicated to partnerships with patients and families for improving care. I really encourage you to look at that and to join that. It's a very good opportunity. And so thank you so much. I'm glad that you were able to join us today. We do have some time if people have questions to pose them, and also feel free to contact me. I'm Marilyn Francis at PCPCC, and my colleague Tanya Hadjan, who works on the TCPI with me. So Tanya, do we have any questions? Go ahead.
Marilyn, this is Mary Minetti, and one of the things that I thought might be useful is to chat with this group about how they might make a referral if they're thinking of a parent that they might be interested in referring to parent. And I don't recall that we spent a lot of time talking about what that process was. So I don't know if you or Jan want to deal with that, but we do want to encourage those of you that are on the line to think about acting on this information, think about identifying parents and thinking about making a referral. And so perhaps if we can share that process, you're more likely to take action.
So Jan, would you like to take that?
Yes. Because we are not one organization across the country, that the parent-to-parent programs are either state or very regional. But I can be, to start with, to initiate this, my contact information is in the handout and presentation, that I can be a contact to initiate a referral from your practice to our state programs. And then, through the next few weeks, if we want to formalize another way to do that, we can. But we will ensure that any referrals that are made are followed up so that a practice is made aware that it has been done.
So would they, Jan, would they do that by just sending you an email and then you would work with them on making that connection? Right. That be the best way?
That could probably be the best way to do it, is just an email that I contact them, to start a referral, not necessarily putting all of a parent's information into an email.
Okay.
Okay, and this is Tanya. On the chat box, we have two questions. The first one is on when and where the slides will be made available. And the answer to that will be the slides and the recording will be available on Monday. We'll post them on the PCPCC website. And we also will send an email to all attendees with details on how to access it by Monday as well. And the other question, I will turn it to Jan. The question is there parent-to-parent resources that are available for non-English speakers?
Across the country, we have several volunteer parents who speak different languages. So sometimes that is a request that we have, is to speak to someone in their native language, not necessarily around their disability. So if a person has, and then some of the state programs have some items translated into different languages. So if there's something specific they're looking for, just to let me know, and I can put something out to our network and help them locate it. Does that help?
Sure, yes, and yeah, thank you so much, Jan. And those are the only 2 questions that we received so far.
Okay. Well, we're near the end of the hour, and I want to make sure that people see that we do have 2 handouts that are on the site about peer support, and also the handout for this particular learning session. And so it looks like there may be another question, Tanya.
Oh, yes. And the question is, doesn't every state have a Family Voices parent support program?
Yes, there probably is a Family Voices, and there's a family-to-family health information center. Not necessarily all of them are housed within the parent-to-parent programs. This was really just about the peer support piece of it that parent-to-parent programs offer.
Okay. So, but you're saying that there are other organizations, some more umbrella organizations that parent-to-parent work with?
Yes, and often
across all 50 states.
Right. And, you know, quite likely the 34 that are statewide programs, you know, are also Family Voices chapters or the family-to-family health information. I don't have that information immediately with me, but most likely those are the case.
So,
Okay.
Jan, this is Mary. So what's the difference in the services that Family Voices provides versus parent-to-parent? Is it other kinds of support to parents?
It can be different types of support, and it also can be like, I'll just pull up Family Voices, a national organization. They house the family-to-family health information centers. So sometimes it's around healthcare information. It could be around sharing information on legislation, and but their mission is youth and with special healthcare needs. It promotes partnerships with families, including those of cultural, linguistic, and geographic diversity, in order to improve healthcare services and policies for children.
So it's more of an advocacy and information resource, whereas
yes,
your program really is to link people individually, parent to parent, for emotional support and engagement.
Yes, and they are tied, you know, very closely. That's what, you know, what our focus today was, the parent-to-parent program. And it could be one part of a larger organization that is also a Family Voices chapter. Could also be some of the same employees within an organization doing both, the work of both.
Good clarification.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions?
No. One attendee just shared familyvoices.org, and I believe that's the website to access more information about family voices?
Yes, that's what I was reading from when I was reading what they do.
Okay. All right then. If there's no more questions, we'll end the session. And again, thank you so much for participating. And please, if you have a few moments, take a poll at the end, the survey at the end of the broadcast, so we can get your input on what we might improve or any other information that you would like. So thank you very much, and I thank our speakers for providing such really rich information that I think is very usable. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.